Welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport.
So, welcome to another episode of Formula 1 Underrated. And today we are looking at Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya. Now, how can a two-time Indy 500 winner and a winner of 7 Formula 1 races be in any way considered underrated? Surely he is just rated and there's nothing else to it. Well, in my opinion, Montoya never reached the heights he could have. So let's take a look at the career of Juan Pablo Montoya and see what happened. So subscribe, like and comment, and with that, let's begin. So Juan Pablo Montoya got his car racing start in the Barber Saab Pro Series, which I had never heard of. And the only champions I have heard of are Kenny Brack and AJ Allmendinger, not the highest calibre of motor racing success. He moved to Britain, first in Formula Vauxhall and then British F3, but his career didn't take off until 1997 when he began racing for Helmut Marko. In International Formula 3000, this coincided with his first Formula 1 test for Williams as well. But with 3 wins and a second place in the championship in Formula 3000, Montoya looked like he could be a true potential for the future, only losing out to Ricardo Zonta by 1.5 points. He was again testing for Williams in 1998, but moved to the Supernova team in International F3000, and he took the title with 3 wins, beating Nick Heidfeld. He also broke a couple of records that year, with 4 straight pole positions at the start, and he lapped the entire field at Pau. That's a pretty impressive sign of talent. But no Formula 1 seat was forthcoming, and so he moved to America and to the kart series. This happened as Frank Williams needed to use customer engines, as Renault had left Williams and Formula 1. So Williams agreed a driver swap with Chip Ganassi, with Montoya racing in the kart series and Alex Zanardi racing for Williams in Formula 1. He would have a horrible 1999 and score no points. Montoya, meanwhile, was criticised for his aggressive driving style, actually won the kart series championship at the first attempt, and Williams wanted him to race for them in 2000, but Montoya decided on 1 more year in America. His kart season wasn't as good, 3 wins and an overall finish of 9th, but he and teammate Jimmy Vasser crossed over into IndyCar series for the 2000 Indianapolis 500 race, and Montoya shocked the world, winning at his first attempt, the first to do so since Graham Hill in 1966. And this wrapped up his time in America for now, as he was ready for Williams and Formula 1.
To keep the door shut, Montoya is determined enough to elbow his way past. They come down to lows. Oh, and he hits him hard again. He's lost his front wing. Juan Pablo Montoya loses his front wing, gets his comeuppance in his attempts to nudge Jamie Davis off the road. And David Sears says, we're about to have a pit stop for another nose section, or are we? We're on the penultimate lap now, and is Montoya going to stop, or is he going to try and carry on? Sarrazin has gone past him into 4th place, but he's still 5th. You get 2 points for 5th, you get 1 point for 6th, and Juan Pablo Montoya wants these championship points. His front right-hand wheel is punctured, it's barely going round, he's got no front wing left at all, the car is dangerous to drive, but Montoya is pressing on. He goes over the start-finish straight, ignores the pit entrance road, and now he's got Kurt Mollikens on his tail, and Kurt Mollikens is 6th and wants to be 5th, and Montoya's simply driving all over the road to keep the door shut in his hobbled and damaged car. Mollikens, the Belgian, can't believe that he isn't able to drive past Montoya on a car that's on 3 wheels. Well, now he has, because Montoya could barely get round the lows.
His first season did not start well. He only qualified in 11th on his debut and went off at the first corner, dropping down further, but fought his way back up to 5th before retiring with engine failure. He crashed at the next race, but in the Brazilian Grand Prix overtook champion Michael Schumacher and looked to have the race won before running into the back of Jos Verstappen and retiring. In Brazil he showed his potential, but he retired from the 4th race in San Marino with brake failure. He got his first points in Spain at round 5, but mostly due to a high attrition rate. He retired from the next 3 races, making mistakes in all of them and crashing out of the Monaco and Canadian Grand Prix. Heading to the European Grand Prix with just 1 points finish, he managed to score second in that race and got more points finishes towards the end of the year, finally winning a race at Monza after qualifying on pole and beating Barrichello by 5 seconds. He finished the year 6th in the standings and with several podiums, but also a lot of mistakes. 2002 was a much better year for Montoya. He got 2 second places in the first 2 races and was the only driver in the field able to take the fight to Michael Schumacher on the track. He was particularly good in qualifying, taking a solid 7 poles. And his driving had improved. Less mistakes were made and he finished the year in 3rd, but with no wins. 2003 was probably the peak of Montoya's career. The Williams was able to challenge at the front, and after winning the Monaco Grand Prix, he looked like a genuine title contender. The only other driver to win the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indy 500 was again Graham Hill. Graham Hill and Montoya are basically the same person, except in every other way. After a mistake by the pit crew, there was some harsh words from Montoya to the crew, and he was formally reprimanded by Williams. As the relationship between the two partners turned sour, in fact, Montoya signed to drive for McLaren at this point, meaning he had a year and a half to go with Williams, knowing he was going to be racing for McLaren in 2005. The French Grand Prix was the first of the bad career decisions made by Montoya. He'd win again in Germany, but Ferrari started to beat Williams in the development race, and Montoya lost pace to the Ferraris. Once again finishing the year in 3rd, and a tough year ahead as the Williams team knew he was leaving at the end of the year. Actually, 2004 started worse for Williams than anyone could have imagined. They designed a Tusk car. Doesn't look very aerodynamic to me. Oh wait, that's the wrong photo, hold on. That's better. Yeah, this good looking ride was pretty much worse in every way than the year before, and despite regular points and a couple of podiums, it took until a more conventional nose was fitted for Montoya to improve, and in his last Williams race he won at Brazil. And then he headed for the promised land that was McLaren, who he surely would have a long happy career with. Actually, his McLaren career didn't start great. He didn't like how the car handled, describing it was like the steering wheel wasn't attached to the car. This led to him spinning in practice quite often. He scored points in the first 2 rounds before missing the next 2 with a shoulder injury. He'd be penalised in Monaco for brake testing Ralf Schumacher, leading to a 4-car crash, and in Canada was disqualified for leaving the pits when the red lights were on. So things were not going well. He joined the rest of the Michelin runners in not racing in America, but McLaren worked hard to adjust the car to Montoya's driving style, and he finally won at Silverstone, before getting a 2nd in Germany and his final 2 wins in Italy and Brazil. In China, a drain cover flipped up and damaged his engine, forcing him to retire, a freak accident. And in Japan, Villeneuve ran Montoya off the track into the gravel, a freak causing an accident. Montoya finished the season 4th, but way behind teammate Raikkonen. 2006 started disappointingly for Montoya and never really got any better. He was underperforming, way behind teammate Raikkonen. He had good races at Monaco and Imola, but everywhere else he either spun or had a mechanical failure. But the worst was the American Grand Prix. He was held accountable for the 8-car crash that saw him retire and also take out teammate Raikkonen. This would prove to be the final straw. A week before the French Grand Prix, Montoya held a press conference announcing he would be racing in NASCAR for 2007. Why you would choose NASCAR over Formula 1, I have no idea, but Ron Dennis removed him from his seat and eventually released Montoya from his contract. He would be replaced by Pedro de la Rosa, who himself got a podium. He would take part in his first stock events in October, racing in a ARCA series, followed by the Xfinity Series, and making his NASCAR Main Series debut in the final race of the year, crashing into Newman and finishing in flames.
But shortly after that, Montoya's going to tag the back of his teammate right now, put him into a spin. He collects Heidfeld. Heidfeld goes rolling. Button spins around, and Scott Speed gets caught up in the aftermath, actually tagging both McLarens. This is Alonso at the front trying to pass Michael Schumacher, as in the background Heidfeld goes spinning. Scott Speed for Toro Rosso, McLarens. That's an expensive accident, and this is on board Raikkonen, and you're going to feel a shove at the back end any minute now, and round he goes, and that's when he gets into Button. We don't know if Montoya was given any assistance from behind. But
whilst Montoya's replacement at McLaren proved to be a boy wonder who would later dominate Formula 1, Montoya himself never really got to grips with NASCAR. A couple of race wins in 7 years, both coming at tracks with corners, Sonoma and Verglen. He never finished better than 8th in the series, but was Rookie of the Year in 2007. He did win the Daytona 24-hour race 3 times, with Riley Technologies, twice in a Lexus in 2007 and 2008, and then for BMW in 2013, proving he had a knack for sports cars. In 2014 he would head back to IndyCar, for the first time since his 2000 Indy 500 win. Racing for Penske, he would win 1 race at Pocono on his way to 4th in the series. He also finished 5th at that year's Indy 500. 2015 was his best year of his post-Formula 1 career. He'd win the opening round of the IndyCar series before winning the Indy 500 for a second time, this time from 15th on the grid. This and a good consistent year meant he finished the series tied on points with Scott Dixon, who would beat Montoya on countback. He never topped that success, but would take a final IndyCar win again in the first race at St. Petersburg. He finished the year 8th and was informed by Penske that he was to be replaced in 2017, but would race in the Indy 500 that year, finishing 6th.
Just 16 laps to go, and it's a battle to the end with Will Power and Juan Montoya. With just 3 laps to go, it's Juan Montoya and Will Power side by side for the lead. Montoya gets the edge and wins his 2nd Indianapolis 500 in just 3 starts. The finish is the 4th closest in history by just over 1/10 of a second. Juan Montoya wins the 16th 500 for Roger Penske. Congratulations to him and all of Team Penske.
So what has Montoya been up to the last few years? Has he retired and faded into obscurity like so many great race drivers before him? Well, no, actually. He joined the WeatherTech Sports Car Series with Penske, and in 2019 won the series, partnered by Dane Cameron. He's even raced at Le Mans with United Autosport. So in 2019 he is still a winning driver and a very competent talent. He will be competing in the same series in 2020, and he really should go for that Le Mans win. He can beat Fernando Alonso to the Triple Crown of Formula 1. I certainly think it's more likely for Montoya to win at Le Mans than it is for Alonso to win the Indy 500. But I will leave you with my final thoughts on Montoya's Formula 1 career. Going back to the 1999 kart series, Michael Andretti criticised Montoya for his aggressive driving style, but I think that's what made him so exciting to watch. He was a fighter and a real fiery personality, which was probably his downfall. Things soured at Williams, but he left them at the right time as they slowly dropped down the grid, and the McLaren was not suited to his driving style to begin with. But I do believe his short 5.5-year career in Formula 1 means he will never be looked at the same way as other drivers. And he did make a lot of mistakes, but I still think Montoya is very underrated. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and check out the underrated playlist for all the videos I've done on the subject. With that said, enjoy your motorsport and have a good one.